What's up, everybody? My name is Sam Darning. Okay, I'm gonna be doing this three true, scary as hell, scary horror story. Well, this true story of it is really, really scary. It just scared me for a little bit because how the beginning of it had me jump. It made me scared. It made me jump. So, if you guys like this video, please give it a thumbs up, like, subscribe, and comment down below. And make sure you turn our post notification bells on. It's that little bitty bell next to the subscribe button. If you guys hit the subscribe button, make sure you turn that post notification bell on. If you guys are brand new, my name is Sam Darling. Thank you guys for watching this awesome video. Happy Monday. I hope you guys enjoy these awesome scary videos because it's October the 1st and all I'm going to be doing is scary stories this month. And then next month there'll be something cool. I'm going to be able to do Christmas stuff. Next month, next year in December, we'll be able to do Christmas videos and all that good stuff. So comment down below. Let's see what other videos I should react to. Thank you guys for watching this awesome video.
Number 1. When I was about 13, my parents and I moved to an old house. It was at least 90 years old. It was large and was in pretty good condition for a house that old. I was an only child, and I got the second biggest room on the second floor. And that room was huge. Sometimes my parents would leave me at home by myself for a few hours if they were going shopping or on a date. I didn't mind staying at home because I like to think of myself as responsible and trustworthy. It made me feel special. One night at around 6 p.m., my parents had gone to run some errands. They were the kind of people who spent hours out shopping for the best deals. They used a lot of coupons on whatever they could, and I did not want to be involved in this at all, so I decided not to go with them. I stayed in my room to watch some TV. Then at around 8 p.m., I got hungry and decided to get a snack. Now by this time, the house is very dark, so I grabbed my cell phone and used it as best as I could to light up the hallway, since the hallway didn't have a light. Now this was before cell phones had built-in flashlights, so I just used all the light my screen could give, until I made it to the kitchen. The kitchen light had been left on by my parents. I then set my phone on the counter, and then began walking towards the pantry. As I was walking to the pantry, I saw a man hunched down in the corner, by the back door. He was wearing black and red clothing, and he had long, greasy, unkempt hair. I didn't see his face because his head was facing the wall. He was holding a large knife. He didn't notice that I had spotted him. I wanted to scream, but I used my hand to cover my mouth, and I walked back upstairs, leaving my cell phone down there, as I was not walking back over to get it. We didn't have any phones upstairs, so I walked into my room, locked my door, and hid in the closet. I started crying silently and started thinking the worst. He was going to find me and kill me. I just knew it. Then I heard someone coming up the stairs. Heavy footsteps. I felt sick. I had never been so afraid in my life. I then heard someone open the door to my parents' room, which was 2 rooms away from mine. The footsteps then started coming towards my room. I started to panic. I then heard police sirens outside and knocking on the front door. I breathe a sigh of relief. I then hear the man quickly running back downstairs and hear him trying to open our back door. I then hear our front door being pushed down, and I heard the footsteps of 2 people coming up the stairs. I assumed they were police officers searching our home. They knocked on my door to let me know it's safe. I then opened the door. I later found out that our neighbors saw this man unlocking our back door with a key and saw that he had a knife and called the police. My parents arrived a few minutes later, and my mom started hugging me and crying. The man, unfortunately, escaped. I got no sleep that night because the man had a key. We had to change all our locks, but we eventually moved out of state. I'm 23 now, and I have moved past it, but there are still several questions I have. How did he get a key to our house? Why did he want to come inside? And what would he have done if the police showed up any later?
Number 2.
So this happened probably 3 years ago. My dad is a dentist in a small town. He has his share of nutty patients, but this has to be the scariest thing that's ever happened to our family. My entire family assists my father with the practice. My mom works on cleaning the rooms and sterilizing the instruments. My brother, when he's not in nursing school, irons the uniforms. My other brother and myself help my mom and another employee clean the office up at night. One Thursday night around 5, after the staff had pretty much left for the night, my dad was in his office filling out some charts. Mom was cleaning out the last exam room. My one brother was hanging up the uniforms, and myself, my other brother, and our employee, we'll call him John, were mopping and vacuuming. When I heard the phone ringing, there's a voicemail that picks up after a few rings. I'm listening as I'm mopping, and I hear this weird voice talking. This man was talking about how he was the tooth fairy, and he's got lots of teeth for my dad. We laugh it off, and my mom deletes it, chalking it up to some nut job patient. An hour later, we were wrapping things up, and we hear a bang at the door. I go over to the door and yell, "Sorry, we're closed." Nothing happens. I open the mail slot, and there's a guy, skinny, stringy blonde hair, yellow teeth, and staring right at me. I close it and immediately go tell my parents, and Dad calls the non-emergency police number. Our town is really small, so my dad knows most of the cops on the force. One of his patients is the dispatcher and tells him that she has an officer coming out right away. Meanwhile, my brother is peeking out of the window and says the guy has a bag. We're all freaking out and wondering what the hell he has in his bag. A cop pulls up about 5 minutes later, and he starts talking to the guy. He ended up taking him in. The thing that freaked us out the most is when we found out what was in his bag. It was a bunch of teeth. Children's teeth. We never found out why he had them, or why he was trying to give them to my dad. Recently, my dad retired after 39 years, and he still talks about this story, and about how it's the craziest thing that's ever happened to us.
Number 3.
So this happened to me 2 years ago. It was my first month on the job, and I work night security at this pretty interesting place. For the record, I still work there, and I have more strange stories possibly to tell in the future. I'm a 38-year-old male, and I've worked security jobs most of my life, and the graveyard shift. I was an event security guard for various well-known concert venues for years, so I've seen my fair share of strange things and crazy people. In other words, I don't scare easily, and hardly ever go into panic mode when a crisis comes up. The place I currently work at is a resort-style apartment complex. To get a better idea of the layout, there are 3 floors with 50 apartments on each floor. This place takes up one city block with a golf course in back, indoor swimming pools, hot tubs, and a small movie theater. You name it, this place has it. Most of the residents are retired doctors, lawyers, and otherwise rich. There are some younger people that live here as well, stockbrokers and real estate agents and so on. Some just use their apartment in the summer and leave as soon as the snow falls. It's located in a
I is for intersectionality. Intersectionality is the
well-known tourist town in the United States. The building itself has 12 exits on the first floor. The doors are locked at 11 p.m. You can exit, but you can't get back in unless you go to the front of the building and ask to be buzzed in, or pick up the call box phone next to whatever exit you're at. The front lobby is set up much like a hotel, with sliding glass doors which I lock when I start my shift. In the middle of the building on the first floor, there are 2 big slider doors which I also lock. They lead to a private parking lot. The parking lot itself is gated, and you need a code to get in. This was midsummer, and while it's never really hot here, tonight was the exception. It was still very warm after the sun had set. I came in 10 minutes to 11 to start my shift. We have a routine to hand off the keys, event log, and phone to the next person on duty. Despite its size, I am the only security person here at night. My coworker who was leaving told me that the side iron gates that lead to the parking lot are open on one side because they are stuck. This is nothing new, and they often do get jammed. She told me that the repair people would be in sometime tomorrow to fix them, but just to do some extra patrols out there at night. This place sits across the road from a public park, and while the area is pretty decent, the park tends to breed druggies and homeless people at night, who sometimes like to try and wander on the property or cause trouble. My night started out as uneventful. As a security guard in this place, we only have pepper spray, a large flashlight, keys, and a company cell phone to call 911 if need be. We are not to confront with bodily harm, nor can we detain anyone. We are simply eyes and ears, and to call the police if something comes up. Of course you can defend yourself if you need to, but in all cases if you're in danger, calling the police is company policy. Basically I am to walk the grounds and floors for anyone suspicious, watch the cameras in the security office which is in the lobby, and otherwise try to stay alert. If a resident calls for a maintenance request, I would take down the information in the computer for the day shift. Or if a resident called with a security issue, I would attend to it. Pretty easy enough job, I thought. I locked the doors to the parking lot and the lobby doors. I did a sweep of all the floors and then found myself back at the desk. It was really quiet, and it rolled around to 3 a.m., and I just sat down to eat my lunch when the company cell phone rang. The caller ID let me know that it was from outside one of our call boxes. I picked it up and said, "Thanks for calling. This is Security Officer James. How can I help you?" I glanced at the cameras and could see the shadow of a figure standing just out of reach from the door and the view of the camera. All I could see is the open call box and the metal cord from the phone. I again asked how could I help. The man started to breathe even heavier, and then he laughed. Then silence. It was one of those laughs you hear in a movie when the lunatic is about to do something terrible. I got up from my chair and started to walk out of the office and to the door he was at when it rang again. This time from call box number 2, which was further down. I quickly looked at the camera and saw this large figure in a hooded jacket. I knew this was strange, as it was very warm outside. He was holding a black bag in his hands, but he had his back to the camera.
"I'm coming for you, and you're gonna die,"
this voice said in a raspy, deep tone. He hung up before I had the chance to say anything. Then the phone rang again. This time I picked up, and before he could speak, I let him know the cops were on their way, and to leave the property now, as he is on camera. He tried the doors, and both were locked. This time he was at yet another call box. This guy had to be running at top speed to make it to the next call box, as they were a good distance between the doors on the outside.
"I can see you. Are you ready to die? The cops won't make it here in time,"
the guy said. I spoke loud and pretended like I was talking to another security guard, and asked him to send 3 other security guards to such and such location, and that the police were dispatched. The guy slammed the phone down loud against the call box receiver, and I watched him on camera take off into the darkness towards the park area. I figured I had scared him off. I was going to call the police, but honestly with the location of this place it would have took them at least 15 minutes to get here, and I figured this guy was just some tweaker from the park. I scanned the cameras and patrolled the back lot just to be sure no one was there. I had my pepper spray in my hands just in case, but no one was out there. I returned to my desk and I wrote what happened in the incident log. About a half hour had passed. I had finished my lunch and was just about to do my rounds when I heard the phone ringing again. This time it was from an unknown number. I thought it would be a resident calling for a repair issue or something. I picked it up and said my normal line.
"Where are the cops? I don't see them, but I see you."
The voice said. Fuck, it was that guy again. I scanned the cameras and did not see anything. I went to the front door to look out, and there was nothing but darkness and a few floodlights on.
I know you're alone, and you're going to die soon.
He said. I basically told him to get fucked and hung up. I called the non-emergency number to the police and let them know what was going on. The dispatcher said she would send a car out to check the area and make contact with me. The next thing I hear is a loud thud against the glass window to the day manager's office, which sits across from the security room. Another 3 loud bangs. I run to the door and unlock it. I pull up the shades and shine my flashlight through the window into the darkness. I catch the face of this hooded man. He looked to be about 40, with long stringy hair and these wild eyes. He looked right at me and grinned before slamming his head into the window again.
Businesses keep our world running, and Cintas keeps them running by helping them make sure workers are well...
Again, trying to break it. I started yelling at him and told him that the cops were coming and he needs to get the fuck out of here. That's when he pulled the biggest damn butcher knife I've ever seen and made a slicing motion like he would use it to cut my throat. This guy was crazy and probably on drugs. He continued slamming his body against the glass, trying to break it. He used his head to try to break the window, but managed to bust his head open. So the window now has blood all over it. I backed out of the office and locked the door. I then decided to wait for the cops, as this guy was out of control and my pepper spray wasn't going to stop him. And the last thing I wanted was to handle a bloody crazy person. He then ran to the nearest side door and took the call box phone off the hook. He then ran to each call box and removed all the phones, which caused my company cell phone to ring and jam up the line. This guy had to be on meth or something, because he ran as fast as I could imagine. I watched the camera and noticed to my horror, the sliding glass door on the garage was open. Now, it was common for residents to get out of their cars and unlock the door themselves. It's just a sliding lock, like the kind in department stores. But this was the last thing I needed with this nut job running around. I sprinted across the building and took a shortcut through a couple of banquet rooms to make it to the garage. As I was doing so, I saw that crazy guy running up the garage pathway. I slid that door as fast as I could and locked it before he got into the entryway. He then slammed his body into the glass over and over, but the door did not move. I locked the second set of doors just in case he got through the outside ones. He would at least be trapped or slowed down. I reached for my pepper spray, thinking maybe he would just leave, and I yelled, "The cops are here." He started to laugh and howl, and then held the knife up again before running into the darkness of the parking garages. I called the cops on my personal cell phone to let them know that the man has a knife. The dispatcher told me that the cops would be there shortly, and I let her know what happened. I made my way to the front again and locked myself in the security office. At least this place had no windows, and I could watch on camera. I heard another loud thud and realized he was at the front lobby doors trying to get in. I was hoping the cops would roll up at any minute, but they didn't. And while it probably didn't take them long, it felt like forever at this point. The guy was standing at the lobby doors with the knife in hand. He faced the camera, and by this time his hood had fallen back. The top of his head was bald, with wild, long, stringy, crazy hair on the sides of his head. His eyes were huge, and I will never forget that grin on his face as he mouthed to the camera,
Die. Die.
while making stabbing motions with that knife, blood running across his face from slamming into the glass. He then ran out into the darkness. About 5 minutes later, the cops showed up. They sent one officer. He asked what the guy looked like, and I told him that I have camera footage. He drove through the area first and shined his spotlight. The cop returned to tell me that he couldn't find anyone, and he had driven around the entire block and back area behind the golf course. I showed him the footage and printed out the picture from the camera. The cop said he didn't see any sign of the guy and that he would patrol the area and call back if he came again. It was now nearly 5 a.m. when the cop left. I waited until about 6 a.m. when it was daylight and people were starting to get out and about before I walked around and hung up all the phones. This guy literally took all 12 phones off the hook. When my manager came in the morning shift at 8 a.m., I told her what happened, and she said that they would keep an eye out, and they would have a meeting to let everyone who worked here know and to be aware. They had an extra security guard on my shift for 2 weeks, but thankfully the guy never returned.
If you love this scary, spooky video, please give me a thumbs up, like, subscribe, and comment down below. Make sure you turn our post notification bells on and leave a friendly comment down below and what other videos y'all should react to. And let's get this video a big thumbs up, and let's get this to how many views you guys can watch. And make sure you like and share with your family and friends. Thank you guys for watching. Have a great day, guys. Bye!